This was the most expensive problem in ancient history, and the one that destroyed more empires than enemy armies ever did. Not strategy, not courage, not even leadership. Money, or more precisely, the ability to keep paying the men holding the weapons. Empires didn't collapse because they lost battles. They collapsed because they couldn't afford their armies anymore. And when the pay stopped making sense, loyalty evaporated faster than ideology ever could. Welcome to The Financial Historian, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. Before banks, before income taxes, before central banks or government bonds, every empire faced the same brutal question. How do you keep hundreds of thousands of armed men fed, equipped, and loyal year after year? Soldiers don't fight on principles alone. They fight because they expect something in return: security for their families, status, land, or cold, hard payment. And once armies stopped being temporary militias and became permanent institutions, war turned into a payroll problem. Ancient states couldn't print money at will. They couldn't run permanent deficits. If the treasury ran dry, there was no lender of a last resort waiting in the wings, which meant every empire had to anchor its military power to something real. Metal pulled from the earth, land taken by force, or labor extracted from conquered populations. These systems weren't abstract. They shaped how societies were organized, who bore the burden, and who paid the price when things went wrong. No empire understood this better, or pushed it further, than Rome. At its height, the Roman Empire maintained an army of roughly 400,000 men spread across 3 continents. That wasn't a fighting force. It was a standing institution. Every soldier expected regular pay, retirement benefits, and, in many cases, land after service. This wasn't optional generosity. It was the cost of keeping the empire intact. Rome's borders didn't hold because of patriotism. They held because soldiers were compensated reliably, at least at first. The backbone of Roman military pay was silver, not promises, not paper, actual metal. The denarius, Rome's standard silver coin, became the engine of imperial power. Soldiers were paid in it, taxes were collected in it, trade depended on it, and the legitimacy of Roman authority was stamped directly onto its surface. But silver doesn't appear out of thin air. Rome needed vast quantities of it, and that requirement quietly dictated the empire's expansion. The conquest of Hispania, modern Spain, wasn't just about prestige or security. It was about access to some of the richest silver mines in the known world. These mines didn't just enrich Rome, they financed its legions. The empire quite literally dug its army out of the ground. As long as silver flowed, the system worked. Soldiers trusted their pay. Merchants accepted Roman coins. Taxes moved efficiently through the system. The army enforced order, protected trade routes, and ensured that silver kept circulating back to the state. It was a closed loop of power, money, and force. But geology has limits, and eventually Rome began to feel them. By the 2nd century, the easy silver was gone. Mining became more expensive. Military campaigns grew costlier. The empire's borders expanded faster than its revenue base. And instead of confronting the structural problem, Roman leaders chose the oldest financial illusion in history. They diluted the money. The denarius still looked the same stamp, same authority. But slowly, quietly, the silver content was reduced. A little copper here, a little alloy there. On paper, soldiers were still being paid the same amount. In reality, their purchasing power was shrinking. At first, no one noticed. Then prices started rising. Merchants demanded more coins for the same goods. Soldiers complained that their pay no longer covered their needs. So the state raised wages, using more debased coins, which pushed prices higher, which forced taxes upward, which squeezed farmers and urban workers who had no leverage to negotiate their income. Inflation didn't announce itself as a crisis. It crept in as a series of small compromises, each one defensible, each one necessary.